Someone told me that we are born with so much potential and we believe that we can do things and we attempt so many things, but then somewhere along the line, we get to start to think in limiting ways. This is Now Tell Us. I'm your host, Anthony Murore. At Now Tell Us, we have guests come and tell us stories. They come and inspire us. They come and educate us on a subject. And always we have great guests who join us. Today we have a guest who is going to tell us how to come from our limiting beliefs to quantum leaps. His name is Dr. Victor Manzo. He's going to be here shortly. Before he comes, let me remind you to please share this episode with all your friends. If you have a question, ask. We'll give you a reply. We'll answer it to the best of our ability. If you have just any other comment to make, we love feedback. So we welcome you to be with us and let's make this show as fun as it can be. From limiting beliefs to quantum leaps. Let's go and meet our guest today, Dr. Victor. Here we go. Hi, Dr. Victor.
Anthony, how you doing, my friend?
I'm doing good. How about you?
It's been good for a Thursday, I'll tell you that much.
Yeah, I see your Dr. Vic, not actually Vic. Why do you shorten your name?
It's just easier, right? It's too many syllables. Dr. Victor Manzo. Instead,
Uh,
it's just Dr. Vic Manzo. Quick and easy.
Oh, that sounds even good. Vic Manzo. It sounds good. Yeah, where are you? Where in the world are you?
I'm located in Knoxville, Tennessee.
That's good. That's in the US. And
Yes.
and I'm hoping you're having a great weather right now.
Oh, Knoxville, this Tennessee weather. I'm originally from Chicago, so starting to get cold, a little cooler in Chicago, but here it's like been 80s, low 80s, low 70s. You get these nice cool mornings, and then it heats up, and then it cools back down at night. Just can't beat it. This is the best weather.
Hmm. Now, you mentioned Chicago, and you remind me that I believe I can fly. My yeah, I've seen people achieve great things in life, and it makes me want to believe that I can. But once I get to try, I also find myself now thinking, no, I couldn't. Tell me, did you also grow up watching basketball that I agree, like I grew up watching, and do you love
Oh
it?
yes, yes. I
Hmm.
mean, Michael Jordan, the Chicago Bulls.
Hmm.
I love watching. I stopped watching basketball after he stopped playing. I just didn't have an interest. I mean, maybe a little bit later, but yeah. I mean, just watching, being able to watch a guy like him play, it was just absolutely amazing.
Mm. Now, what is it that you do?
I am. I have a couple things I do. I have a few hats, but mainly I'm a business coach, and I help
Hmm.
individuals level up in their life, try to find that true fulfillment. There's so many things about business that we're told of how we need to succeed. Right. The main one is grind, hustle. Put the sweat equity and all the things that people say.
Mm.
And my approach and what I do and help people is to realize let's find what works for you. Let's tap into understanding. Let's break through some limiting beliefs. I know we're going to get into that a little bit, but what are those constructs that have programmed you to not succeed in the way you want? And let's really unbreak those and recreate new ones so that we can have you rediscover that greatness. My whole purpose in what I do, if I could sum it up in one word, is helping people with creating fulfillment in their personal and professional life.
That's beautiful because fulfillment is a big word, and it's a challenge. I mean, do I call it a challenge? But then uh, living every single day and trying the best that we can, and yet we find ourselves that we are not fulfilled.
No,
Is yeah. Why is that? Is it? What do you say that? I mean, how do you say that we stop? Do you say we stop grinding, we stop hustling, or what do you exactly mean?
Yeah, I mean, here's the thing. So, like, right when we look at fulfillment, why do people are not so fulfilled?
Mm,
Well, Forbes came out with an article a couple of years back, and it talked about entrepreneurs and business owners, how much burnout do they have, right?
mm,
And to me, the way I define burnout is not about grind and hustle so much, is about having a lack of vision, having a lack of purpose, knowing what your sole purpose is. Why do you exist in this world? That is the biggest, and that's the big thing I work with clients on. And so when we don't know that, then you're going to be scattered. You're not
mhm,
going to have direction. And what is the grind and hustle, right? It's all about just action, action, action. Just keep
mm,
working, just keep doing the work, keep outputting, outcompete your competition, work longer and harder than they do, and you will be more successful. This is
mhm,
the advice we've been told. When I teach these things, this is Newtonian physics. And so what I mean by that is it's all about force. So like Newtonian physics says, if we want to go land on the moon, we can project all these things out and say, here's exactly how we have to do it. Here's the exact time frame, the exact this, and you just, we get the rocket over a period of time, we'll get there, right?
mhm,
And that's an old model that when it comes to business is a very old model that is kind of weaning itself out because there's a whole new era. And it's not like, I mean, in science it's new, but in the quantum world, which we're looking at things at a whole different element and understanding that we don't have to work so hard. I'm not
mhm.
saying that action is not important. Some people misconstrue my message. And you have to have action. You have to do the work. You can't
Yeah.
just sit on a couch and visualize, get your vibe right, get your mind right, and do all these things, and it's just all going to magically appear in front of you. It's not going to work that way.
Mm,
But what the formula is like in the old model, it's 90% hard work, 10% mind and vibe and all that stuff.
mhm,
The new model's flipped. It's about 10% actually working and 90% mindset, vibe, and all these kind of things. And because
mhm,
when we have our mind right, and we'll get into all this a little bit, but when you have your mind right and you have your vibe, when I'm talking about vibe, it's your consciousness level and so forth. When those two are in alignment, man, then whatever you do, as long it's going to fall into alignment with that, you don't have to work as hard.
mm,
And it's not, and you don't have to take my word for it. This is what billionaires do, right?
mhm,
They only pick a few things that they want to do in a day that's important and that aligns with what they, their vision and this and all these other things, and they go do it. And then that's it. And
mm,
they kind of had the formula figured out. I mean, look at where they're at.
mm. And I agree with you there when you talk about the mind. I mean, it's common sense that everything that is existing today, everything that I've seen, and everything that I will ever be, comes from the mind. What we think, what we imagine, the ideas that come to us. So if it's right, then all the others will follow.
100%. I mean, everything stems from there. And it's one of the things where, like if you get that clear and you have it crystal clear and it has that alignment, which, then all of a sudden everything else is going to work out for it's going to work out for the greater good of yourself.
Hmm. Now, you mentioned about finding my purpose, and that will kind of bring the fulfillment at some point. But there are so many people who may be asking, how do I discover my purpose? Why am I here? What should I be doing, chasing every single day that I am awake?
It's such an interesting question, right? Because like I always tell people, the hardest question I ask clients that I work with is, "What do you want?" And it's funny how many that they don't have an answer to that. And I'm
Mm,
not judging at all with that statement because I was that way too. But it's one of those things where finding your soul's purpose and why you exist. Sometimes what we have to do is we have to there's a few different processes I have people go through, and one of those is going to be when you look at your life overall. Okay, what really matters to you? What are your values?
mm,
What's your why? What are things from a feeling, not a mental? This is not mental at all. It's a
mhm,
feeling,
mhm,
body feeling, because this is actually deeper, better language. Our language and how we communicate is extremely limited. So when we can tap into energy or feelings, emotions, those are responses to energy, that allows us to go much deeper into a purpose. And
mhm,
so when we're in our soul's purpose or we're following our true vision that really matters, you're going to have elevated emotions of bliss, joy, contentment, not contentment, it's bliss and joy, really. And that's when we're truly in alignment.
mhm,
Whenever we're not in alignment with our stuff, that's called a sin. Now, for some religious people, they may say, wait, you're talking about sinning and making something wrong. No, 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 no. The word sin comes from archery, which means missing the mark.
Mm.
So when we look at our life, we're creating a sin because we're missing the mark of our purpose and path. We're off the path of where we're
Mm.
designed to be, right? And
Mhm.
so why is the feeling so important? That's your guide. That's what leads you towards. I can't tell you. I always tell my clients, I can't tell you how to, here's the step process. You're going to do this and you're going to find your purpose.
Mhm.
That's too mental. We have to get into feeling. So I tell them it's a discovery process. You start thinking about things, sit with it for a little bit, feel it out, see if that feeling comes up. And then some people say, well, what's the feeling? How do I know if it's right? Well, you've had it before. We've all had that feeling before. We got so much joy, and it was a different type of happiness. It's a joy. It's not happiness. It's
Mm.
like it like lights you up inside. It's that butterfly feeling when you saw that person who you really loved and like really was attracted to. And it was beyond the physical. There was something deeper, right? We've all had that experience.
Mm.
And so it's that feeling when it comes to the purpose of our life and what we're going to do, that is going to be the guidance system that's going to lead you to where your soul purpose is. And then once you start playing with that energy field, you start tapping into that,
Mhm.
all of a sudden you're going to start to attract, because this is all law, universal laws, the words, the verbiage, how the vision of things of how it's going to come together, they will start to come to you. And it's amazing because out of the ordinary, I'll have a client go, man, I've been working on this for like 3 weeks. And then all of a sudden, Doc, like literally it was 3:30 in the morning. I woke up, I couldn't go to sleep. And then bam, it hit me. And then all of a sudden it's like, it just felt so good. I couldn't go back to sleep.
Mm.
Or it could have been like they were taking a shower and all of a sudden they had this thought and it was just like a lightning bolt hit them. And then all of a sudden they had this feeling, right? It's that feeling that lets them know.
Mm.
And the feeling's important because then you start to realize, okay, that's the feeling. This is what matters to me. This is what brings real joy to me. Because if you want me to summarize all this, it's real simple. It's the things that you can take with you after you leave this world.
Mm. The things that you can take along with you when you leave this world.
Yeah.
That's a
It's
good
that
summary.
substance that's
Mhm.
so deep that you can take with you, that joy and that bliss and all the stuff that'll come with it. So when we're finding our purpose in that, again, it comes back to values and what brings joy. Other ways I share this, because I have many ways of using this, is what is something that you would do for free just because it brings so much to your life. It
Mm.
gives you a deeper purpose.
Mhm.
It fulfills you. It fulfills your tank up. It gets you excited for the next day every day to continue to do that. That's the easiest way to do it.
Mm.
Um, but there's so many ways that we can look at that. Another way is you can look and say, well, how do you want to be reminded when you're passing, when it's your time to transition?
Mm.
When someone's reading, that this has been told many times, it's nothing new, but it's that obituary. How do you want people talking about you?
Mhm.
All right. And so if you're looking at your life and what you've been doing, and you're kind of going, I don't want to be remembered as this.
Mm.
Okay, we got to change that up then. And then understand why do you want to be reminded as something different.
Mm.
So there's 3 ways that you can do it.
Wow. Thank you for that. And I also want to appreciate all the people who are watching us or listening to us, even those who get to listen or watch us after we are through with this. We thank you for taking your time and being with us here. Now, Mishka, hi, how are you? And all the people who may not have commented, I greet you and we thank you once again. Now, today we have Dr. Vic Manzo, who's going to tell us about limiting beliefs. He's just told us how to discover our life purpose. Uh, Look there at the end of it all. When you are on your last day and looking back, did you live a life that you would be proud of? And then that's going to help you discover your life purpose and live it so that when that time comes, you're going to be glad. Now, we before we even get to that, the purpose, and or rather we have identified our purpose, but then it's difficult to leave it because there are some things that we don't believe that we can, or how do you define limiting beliefs? And because this is what we are here for, how do you define limiting beliefs and how do we come from there to quantum
Yeah.
leaps?
So our limiting beliefs is something that was given to us. We took these in.
Mm.
So it usually starts from our family dynamics and growing up in our family, parents, siblings, extended family, and so forth. But there's also I call it part. In one of my books I wrote, I call it the matrix. And so the matrix is like this overall essence of humanity.
Mm.
But there's all these sub matrices. So it's the influences of what people think of certain opinions and situations and circumstances. If you think of like a computer, our brain is like the hardware. And then
Mm-hmm.
there's this software that we download in, and then it runs off the hardware in certain way, shape, or form. Our limiting beliefs is a software that runs and it's limiting to our life. Now, this is not just with money, although the money is a big one. It's also in relationships. It's also with people's health. It's also with our own individuality, our mindset, mind, self-esteem, those kind of things. And it's a system that we've given, or it's a belief that we give power to. And
Mm-hmm.
these things reside, they live in our subconscious mind. So they run,
Mm-hmm.
whether you know it does or doesn't, right? You're unaware of it. And
Mm-hmm.
so 95% of our life is dictated by this subconscious mind. And we
Mm-hmm.
have these limiting beliefs that are programmed in there to there. So imagine you have, so here's an example of how this works. So let's say in business, you don't know why you hit, let's say, $100,000 and you come back down to 60. And every time you've been in business for 5 years, every time you hit $100,000, you drop back down to 60,000.
Mm-hmm.
And you're going, I don't know why I keep hitting that. It's like a glass ceiling. I can't break it. So what do we do from, again, we were talking about earlier? What's business world tell you to do? Work harder, grind harder, read more books, just put all the force energy to try to force yourself to do it. And you'll probably get there. I'm not saying it doesn't work, because it does. There's billionaires that have done that and it works.
Mm-hmm.
But we can also just realize that that's what's called a psychological barrier. And there's a limiting belief to that. And what if you believe that, you let's say you had a parent who was working a lot, but you guys made a lot of money. The family was very well to do, but you never saw your dad. And so subconsciously, you have a limiting belief that making more money means I'm not with my family.
Mm-hmm.
And you may not be aware of it. See, because these things don't come up. Like when I work with clients, when we get into this, I always tell them it's going to take like 2 to 3 months before we start unraveling some of these things. And there's some things I can do to speed up the process here or there, but it takes a couple months to really get into some of the good stuff. And it's not just one, because usually we find that one route and then we just start to dismantle, because we'll see it in business, we see it with money, and all of a sudden it's like, wow, I do it here, but man, it's my relationships also. Wow, I've noticed that this is also showing up in my health. Holy cow! And I'm going, exactly. This plays all areas of our life. So when we remove the limiting belief, now you realize, man, you're telling me that I can make money and I can still be with my family. Yeah, making more money will actually allow you to have more time with your family. It gives you
Mm-hmm.
more choices. And then they go, I never knew that. You sure that's true? Yeah, here's some examples.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Now what we're doing is the mind's kind of going, we're used to this. We're programmed this way. But then the person, you have a choice to say, you know what, I believe this from here on out. Thank you for my old belief of what this was. I'm going to move forward. And now all of a sudden you created this new belief, which is an empowering belief. And now we have to wire that into the brain. There's so many people out there that say, oh, I can instantananeously you change your life like this. Listen, I get that. I'm all about it. You can do that from a mind perspective, but from a physical perspective, we live in a time-space reality. So
Mm-hmm.
what that means is we have to go through time and space in order to make changes. Our nervous system, our body is part of that system. So
Mm-hmm.
yes, mind isn't. Mind is multidimensional. Our
Yeah.
mind, I can have you think about something in the past, I can have you think about something in the future, and you just
Mm-hmm.
time traveled, right? So the mind is very multidimensional.
Mm-hmm.
But when it comes to us as a physical being, having this experience, what ends up happening is we have to wire the brain into that new conditioning. And that can
Mm-hmm.
take a couple weeks. Most time it takes about 3 months. But once we get that hardwired in, now you're not thinking about it anymore. It's an automatic process.
Mm-hmm. Wow. Now I'm thinking about this scenario. Now we are in the present. I go into the future looking at that time that we talked about, where we want to identify the life purpose. And since you're dealing mostly with business, although you're also looking at the other aspects of life, now I'm thinking, I want to be a billionaire. Okay, I want my life purpose to be, I have lived and made a billionaire. And then in the present, I'm imagining, no, that's not possible for me because of where I am, because of the things that I am doing. Because I don't have the knowledge on how to make $1 billion. Now, this is the challenge. This is where we are. Take us into that fulfillment, that achievement, accomplishment of my purpose, where I have done it all.
I love this. So here's an easy question. Do you play any musical instruments?
I attempt to. I am not so good at it, but I do.
Or how about a sport?
I used to attempt a basketball because I was following Magic Johnson and Michael Jordan, but then I was horrible.
Well, so here's the thing. Let's think about it. So when you first started playing, like your first time, were you just as not as good then as you were towards the end when you right before you stopped, or were you
I, I would
did you get
say
better?
I would say I got better. I improved with time. Like I learned piano for about 1 year. I can play the chords. Yeah, I can talk. I can say something, and you think that is music.
See, so when you first played the piano, right, you were probably a little rusty, right? Couldn't
Yeah.
trying to figure out how to get the fingers down, memorizing the chords, messing up, slipping up a lot, right?
Hmm.
Did you ever think in your mind you'll never learn how to play the piano?
I was thinking I'm gonna learn it, even though I have some challenges of getting the right keys. But I imagine, okay, if I keep on doing it, I'm gonna be good at some point.
So that philosophy, that's a belief you had that you knew
Yeah.
you were going to. You had faith, inner knowing that
Mm-hmm.
you knew you were going to get to that point. Here's how I know I need to do this, and this is what I need to focus on. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Simple. There's no difference between that and a billionaire. It's the same game.
Same game.
It's the same game. There's nothing different. Everyone's like, "Oh no, there's more." No, there isn't. It's the same game.
Mm-hmm.
Just because it could be a millionaire. It's the same game. It's just money. But
Mm-hmm.
and you have the belief, but the problem is because we switch into money, now we're uncovering a limiting belief. Because there's something about money that's different between a piano or playing a sport. Because
Mm-hmm.
what humans do is we judge ourselves. Most people judge ourselves, and I'm one of them, I've done it too. We judge ourselves where we are instead of comparing to judging ourselves where we want to go and who we want to become.
Mm-hmm.
Judge yourself, and whoever's listening to this, if you feel like you want to become a billionaire, and not everybody wants to be a billionaire. Even myself, I thought about it at one point. I don't want to be a billionaire unless I needed $1 billion to fulfill some of the big visions I want to do. Then yeah, I'll take $1 billion. I have no problem with that. Whoever wants to donate, go ahead. But it's one of those things where when we don't judge ourselves for the future version of who we want to become, judge there and
Mm-hmm.
focus there. You did that. That's why I was using that as a question with piano or a sport because you weren't judging yourself in the moment. You might have got frustrated. You
Mm-hmm.
might have got a little aggravated. You might have got impatient. We all do that. But you kept judging of where you were going to go. That's success. And then we tie that back just to make it full circle. What we've been talking about is tying it back to the soul's purpose. Judge yourself about where your soul's purpose is. Judge yourself on what it is that you want to become. Judge
Mm-hmm.
yourself for the future version of yourself that you want to be. Because the mind, as I said earlier, is multidimensional. So your mind, you can literally see yourself in your future self, live that whole world, see it, feel it, believe it, judge yourself in that state, not where you are now. And your mind doesn't know the difference between those two realities.
Mm-hmm.
That's a very powerful thing. But go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah, yeah, it's good. It's good. We are enjoying it. We are liking what you're you're sharing now, and it's good. I was maybe playing in my mind of the two examples that you've given. You've given the sport and an instrument. Now, there could be some hope that sometime in the future I'm gonna get good at the piano if I paid focus and dedicated. Oh, again, no grinding, no grinding, just dedicated. I'm dedicated, I'm focused, dedicated. I could get some. But then I can never ever be like Michael Jordan at any particular. Now, how do I find this balance? How do I find this purpose that is going to be a reality without.
Any anytime you compare yourself to someone else, like I want to be like Michael Jordan,
Mm,
you lost your power.
mm-hmm,
You see, because there's something in quantum mechanics called the Pauli exclusion principle. And what that told, and I'll sum it up very quickly, there are no two individuals or no two things in the entire universe that are identical. There'll be never
mm-hmm,
another human being like you ever in the past, present, and future of humanity, ever, ever. Right?
mm,
So when we're like, I
mm,
want to be like this person, or I want to be the next this, we've given our power away because we gave our identity to that instead of the identity
mm-hmm,
to be who you are. Right?
mm-hmm,
Now, so when it comes to I want to be like someone who's very, when we want to be like someone like a Michael Jordan, who's one of the best of all time, it's one of those things that there's more ego involved in there than there is truth because, like, it comes, like I said, one time I wanted to be a billionaire, and then I really thought about it, and I said, well, how much do I really need? Like when it comes to fulfillment, what do I really need? And what's going to really
Mm.
fulfill me? The $1 billion wasn't. The reason why I wanted the $1 billion was because I had a void within me and I thought I was going to fill it. But then when I started to
Mhm.
focus on my purpose, right? Because if you look at Michael Jordan never said he was the greatest. He still to this day doesn't say he's the greatest. I remember I was
Mhm.
reading something about him and he's like, everybody wants to compare. He goes, you can't compare somebody from the same, you can't compare different eras. And you just can't.
Yeah.
And I was just like, here's somebody like that. Because when he played, he did, the stories were he practiced harder than he did in the game. They said if he
Mm.
played in the game like he played in practice, he would average 50 points a game, 40 points,
Mm.
50 points a game. So
Mhm.
the thing is instead, who do we compete with? Yourself. Who do you focus on? Yourself. That future version, who you want to
Mhm.
become. Focus there. Be that person. Because guess what? You may not ever get to that future version, but you'll get
Mm.
close. Right? Because here's what happens. And Matthew McConaughey says this way better than I do. You can look this up on YouTube, but he did this in one of his speeches about his future self. Who is he chasing? And then after a
Mhm.
while, he's like, I'll never catch up to that person, but I'm not going to stop. And I agree with it because even in 10 years, like I look back, I just turned 40. So I looked at my third when I was 30, where was my mind at? Where was I thinking about things? Where was I at with my life and all this stuff?
Mhm.
And I said, man, when I see myself where I'm at now, where and the house I'm in, the things I have, the things I'm doing, but one of the things I looked and I said, am I where I thought I would be when I was 30, turning 40? And I'm not at all, not even close. But
Mm.
now I look and go, man, who I want to become at 50? Oh, that's a whole laundry list. And I'm looking forward to that. And I'm going to focus on things every single day, my actions and what I'm doing to make sure I'm aligning to that person as much as I can. And I know when I get there, most likely I won't be there because things have changed, things have evolved. And that's
Yeah.
okay. That's part of life. You shouldn't have the same thinking and the same mindset. I say every 6 months to a year. Well, at least maybe every year. Your verbiage should change a little bit. Little changes should happen. But the thing is competing with oneself and focusing on, you know, am I getting better? 1%. Am I making
Mm.
millimeters? It could be 0.1%. Heck, it could be 0.01%. Who said there's no rules to this? You can set a standard at 1%, but at the end of the day, it's just whatever. As long as you're growing from the day before, you're becoming that Michael Jordan of your life. And
Mm.
that's the most critical thing. That's where your focus needs to be. Because anytime we take it outside of ourselves, we're giving our power away.
Mm. So I'm gonna be going after a better version of myself tomorrow than I was yesterday, and looking forward to fulfill the life that I'm here for. And we thank you, Dr. Vic, for sharing this with us. And it's been quite an honor having you here.
It's been a lot of
Is
fun.
there
I love the
something
question.
that you'd like to tell us before we sign off?
Yeah. One of the things that when it comes to life, our brain always wants control. It looks for comfort. That's why it does control. And I'll tell you
Mm.
the beautiful thing about life is when we can let go more and trust. We've come to a society where we trust more outside ourselves and we look for people outside ourselves and without trusting within and trusting the power that we have. We have everything within us. You look at the Bible, you can look at other religions, they all talk about this power within. Everything's within.
Mm.
All is
Mhm.
here. And we hear it, but we don't when it comes to life, we don't do that as much. And when you can trust life that everything is always working out for your greater good, it always is. And you can look back, it's there. You'll see it. Why something fell here. You went through this hardship or you went through a dark time. And when you get through it all and you start to put the pieces back and you start looking at the dots, looking back, connecting the dots, you're kind of going, man, if that didn't happen, then I wouldn't have been here. And if I stayed there, that would have been a horrible process. And look how this, and so it's learning to trust and having faith because when we allow fear to come in, that just means fear really is just not trusting yourself. And some people say it's not trusting God, but that's kind of the almost very similar thing. I'm not saying we are God, but we are creators and we're made in that image of God. So it's
Mm.
like when we don't have faith in ourselves, you don't have faith in that higher power. May it be your soul, may it be God, whatever religion you want to call it, whatever label, that doesn't matter. But at the end of the day, it's always there to help support and serve you for your greatest good.
Wow, that's very well put. Wow. So fear is one of the dangers. Now, you talk about, and I don't know whether this, I heard you talk about the ball and chain holding us back from achieving the level of success and freedom we desire. Could that be it, or what is it? I'm curious to know.
It's a subconscious mind. It's the thing that we don't realize that's holding us back. We talked a little bit about it today, where we got into limiting beliefs and that subconscious program. When does it develop? You know, and new research has been showing it's actually sometime in our birth process. You know, it's either in mom in the womb, or in that transition journey is when it starts to begin. And then, you know, age 3 to 5 is when the really the software really gets downloaded. Some event, something happens in our life where it kind of dictates a lot of our life, and that's that subconscious mind. So, like I was saying, someone who hits 100,000 and drops back to 60, that's a ball and chain effect, right? You're trying to get
Mm.
up, the ball's just too heavy. I can't
Brings
hold
you,
on to
yeah,
that as much. I'm going to pull back here
yeah.
because the ball's not pulling me down. Not the ball's not putting any more stress on me, so I could stay here. But then once we unravel the limiting beliefs, once we get into that subconscious mind and start to reprogram things, then all of a sudden we're cutting the chains on the ball, and now you can soar. But there'll be new layers of it. This evolves with you in some ways. And so there'll be new things that will show up down the road that we'll have to face and become aware of. But it gets easier as we go through that journey.
Mm. Wow, just like it gets easier. Music on the piano day by day. Okay, thank you very much, Dr. Vic. We really appreciate you. And at this point, I will ask you because there are people who could be watching you and are interested to hear more of what you have to share because you have quite much, and they would want to follow up with you, maybe become some of your clients. I don't know, they know, and yeah, they are curious how to follow up with you. What would you suggest they do?
The easiest way to get a hold of me, or to check out all the stuff I'm about, is my website. It's empoweryourreality.com. That's where you can get access to you can listen to my podcast. I have my blog. I do a blog. I have my books on there. You can get to my social media. So I'm always open. Like, go check out. I'm on Facebook and Instagram, LinkedIn, and all that. You have a message or anything you want to have a question on something I talked about, reach out. I love hearing from people, and definitely connecting. And if you're looking to see what this coaching experience is about and tapping into that fulfillment, but also growing in business and stuff too, because that happens also. There's a button at the top of my page that you can hook on a call with me and dive deeper into things.
Oh, that's good. Thank you for sharing that. So, all the listeners or the viewers, you can hop on to empoweryourreality.com, connect with Dr. Vic Manzo. Yeah, this is about it. And it's been a great time with you here, Dr. Vic. And yeah, it's been a great time also with you, viewers. Thank you very much.
It was a lot of fun, Anthony. Thanks for having me.
Yes, it's been an honor having you here. And thank you for coming. We appreciate. This has been Now Tell Us. I've been your host, Anthony Morore, and together with our guest today, Dr. Vic Manzo, we are saying, yeah, got to, yeah, your highest highs that you can go, leave the limiting beliefs below. Drop the chain and the ball and climb higher, so higher. Bye.